Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, welcome to the show. Just saying that Kevin, my producer, I got audio, so all is well. Fantastic. It is October 18, and it's a Tuesday. So, Susan.
Yes.
Hello.
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 How are you? I saw in the news that there was a lot of snow in northern Wisconsin. Did you get that?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
But it was cold, and I did for the first time this year get a dog in the middle of the night curling up and plopping down right on top of me because
he wanted some body.
It was a one human night.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Well, okay. I saw there was something like 25-foot waves on Lake Superior. And,
yeah, they were saying on the news last night that there might be like 17 inches of snow in the UP. So not us, but close.
Close. All right. Well, that time of year, but they even said that it's even early for Wisconsin. So I hope. Well, who the hell knows? What happens.
We get what we get, but it was, I'm down. It seems it to be unfair for it only to be mid-October, and I am already layering like I frequently do in December or January. So
yeah, but the way our weather is now,
I could be in shorts in December and January.
Exactly. So it's just in, out, up, down. There's no telling. All right, enough weather. Isn't that interesting that people do talk about the weather just to break the ice? Because it's hard to get angry at each other about weather. It's fairly. It used to be uncontroversial. It's not anymore because now we have to fight about climate change. That's right.
Which I was telling you about yesterday, that there are a group of people in Wisconsin who, because Ron Johnson, our beloved and hopefully soon to be ex-senator, although I don't know about that,
I don't know.
He is known to have called climate change bullshit. So a sculptor and a group of friends, because one of the things that Wisconsin, being the dairy state, has plenty of is bullshit. So they made a statue of Ron Johnson out of bullshit. And they dressed it in a suit and tie, and he's going around to all these rallies. Is the bullshit Ron?
Oh my God! Seriously made? Well, I have you seen a picture of it?
I did. You can see a picture of it too. It's online. Just look for the poop. Just look for the Ron Johnson statue made of poop.
God, with some people. Well, we all got to work out our anxiety.
There has been a level of humor on the Democrat side with this Ron Johnson thing that I don't think it's landing. I don't think it helps, but I found it very amusing. During the debate between Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes, Mandela Barnes was pointing out that it's not like Ron Johnson's a great businessman. He married into his wife's business. And then for the rest of the time, he called it his business-in-law.
Oh, my God.
Which I thought was very funny. Well, yeah, and your business-in-law did very well when you passed that piece of legislation.
I don't know. You don't listen. I don't think. Yeah.
No, it's not working because
meant to make people already on your side, laugh.
Well,
and cheer,
listen,
but they don't.
If your candidate is Ron Johnson, Lynn, and you're for him, there is nothing anybody can say that's going to make you not be for him, because there's nothing rational about being for him unless You know, unless you're for all the things that are bad for the regular person and for anybody of color. It's like being for Donald Trump. There's nothing rational about that. You know, so no, the people that land where they land, this is the age-old rule of politics that people never seem to remember, and it's always true. And that's that you don't change the no votes. You don't change the yes votes. All you can hope to change is that great sea of people who I never understand who they are, who haven't decided yet.
Yeah. It's a much smaller sea. There used to be a greater sea because we've all pretty much decided our camp now, right?
Right.
So there are fewer and fewer of those strangely undecided people to pick off. So
well, they just have to be people that are totally disconnected from this whole world and just pay no attention to it.
Well, now I really think it's emotional. There was an upsetting poll that was in the New York Times either yesterday or the latest poll and it showed that the Republicans seem to be closing the gap and or overtaking Democrats who were expected to win. It was just a depressing poll. And I don't have the exact, I thought I did have it here, but of course I don't. When you look at the demographics, there was something surprising in the demographics.
Suburban women going the wrong way.
No. It's an age demographic. Of course, it's not, for some reason, the graphic is not coming up, but it's generation, I hate this naming of generations as if there's some kind of monolith, but it's Generation X. And I thought, who the hell's Generation X?
Yeah, I can't keep them straight anymore.
Well, you know who they are? Here's who they are. And they are the ones that are most likely to be voting for Trump and Trump acolytes. They are not the oldest, because I always thought it would be, aging baby boomers. No. The demographic that is most likely to get rid of American democracy is aged 45 to 64.
That makes total sense. Those are the years of
panic.
Yes, in one's life, when the finances are where you're going to be and how you're going to end up are becoming clear, you're becoming panicked or not panicked, you're pleased or you're not pleased, and you're either blaming other people for it or you're not.
Yeah. Well,
although that's really not true. I mean, I know an awful lot of people in that demographic, and they're just nice people who, even if they are trying to aren't where they want to be, are working their butts off.
But Susan, that's why this whole thing, Generation X,
doesn't make any sense.
Baby boomers, of course. I know lots of. I mean, what? Of course, we all know. I'm a baby boomer, but I'm not necessarily aligned with with all the supposed aspects of what a baby boomer is. But some people suggested that it is that age group, 45 to 65 or whatever it was, that are struggling with, it's a sandwich generation.
Yeah.
They still got kids and worrying about them in college, the money for college. They might be taking care of aging parents. They've got, inflation.
And they're worried about retirement.
And they're worried about retirement. And that makes them turn into fascists. That's the jump I don't get.
Yeah, ergo I'm going to no. It's if you're struggling and you see it as something that's imposed on you by an other, then you just decide to identify the other. It's where you go at that point. whether you just go, this is life, and it's not supposed to, affect my whole worldview about others. But other people don't do that. They just decide, I've been doing my share, and it must be other people's fault that I'm not doing better.
Well, one Gen Xer who saw the poll is a columnist, Megan McArdle. And so she tries to figure it out. And she ends in a way that just made me go insane. She says this. We are a charitable generation, we Xers. It's right there. I mean, I'm sorry. The greatest generation. It's all bullshit, okay? But we are a charitable generation, we Xers. So perhaps we understand at some level that this is not all Joe Biden's fault. The president did not single-handedly cause inflation. I mean, obviously he didn't cause it. It was caused by a pandemic, by the markets, by Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing if we didn't have it.
Global. It's global. So anyway, of course, he didn't. But then she goes on to say, and he's not sneaking out of the White House at 3 a.m. to steal cars. So that's like another issue. They think there's this I mean, I know there's crime, but then she says we're too tired to quibble about responsibility. If someone can't fix the problem, we fire them and hire someone else. Well, excuse me, what? You just said the president and his party were not responsible for all the things you're angry at.
And then she says, but we're too tired to think rationally. Yeah.
Okay,
so.
Fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. And then there was this other demographic thing I came across that really freaked me out. We're going a little younger now. We're now at people aged 18 to 29, okay? 18 to 29, those are the youngest cohort of voters. And I know that I think of those guys as the ones who will save us.
No, they might just be voting the way their parents are.
No, I think at that point, these are people who've grown up in a more racially diverse world, or they're not freaked out by, the sexual gender stuff as much. I don't know. What do I know? But here, we're talking about a whole huge group of
and they do skew liberal as a voting bloc. They do.
But here's what the newest analysis of Gallup poll data shows. The share of young women who call themselves liberals has been rising for the last 20 years. Not so much with the males. 44% of the women in this young cohort, 18 to 29, almost half of them identify as liberal. 44% liberal. Only 25% of men 18 to 29 say they're liberal. And
shame on them. What's wrong with them?
But that rift, that gender rift in that young demographic.
Yeah, young men see
men see women. Young women are just moving ahead.
They're competition,
men are not.
Right.
They're falling behind.
It turns out that young men, when given competition, sit down and pout.
Oh,
too bad. That is what that is. What define an incel? It's someone who, when walking around as being as disgusting as he wants to be, is pissed because women find it unattractive. Sorry, but that is what it is.
But it creates Trump voters.
Well, what I'm concerned about is that women aren't even more up in arms. Yeah. That yes, there is a concerted effort to take away your rights. If they've done it with your bodily autonomy, that's just going to encourage them to take back everything else. And in my lifetime, I couldn't have a credit card. In my lifetime, when I bought a house as a widow, I had 3 years later a mortgage company call me up and ask me for my husband's signature, because what's a woman doing buying a house without her husband?
Oh, come on. Well, that's just somebody.
That's what happened.
For some reason, didn't know maybe that he was deceased. They had you as a married woman.
So what? So what if he's deceased or not, Lynn? What if he's deceased or not?
No, I know, but I understand. But okay, all right. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm hardly going to argue the other side.
I don't want to go back to a time, and we are running in that direction, where it is assumed that I can't own or be or do whatever it is I need to do.
Oh, cost.
I'm trying.
Okay, so I wanted to say, since we were talking about women, women's stuff. This is a while back that I read something where somebody said that. Oh, I know. It was the woman, the head of the Los Angeles County Council, who got,
who decided, right,
and who's now no longer in that office, as are the other men who were
giggling with her, right?
So she, in her initial apology, said something to the effect of, as a mother, I should have known better, or something. There are no excuses. I'm a mother. And wherever I read this, a guy wrote it. He said, what the hell does that have to do with anything? This sense that women, mothers, are somehow different. That he took issue with.
Well, I agree with him.
Mothers.
There's plenty of lousy mothers.
Yeah, and plenty of lousy women. So, but then he went on, and I thought this was wonderful. I see Clarence is on the line. Clarence, let me finish my thought. The thing is that women, and we acknowledge this, when you say, I have said women would be better leaders, women are less given to ranking and authoritarianism and more given to listening. And I mean, this is all known, right? We're different than men.
Right, but as Nancy Pelosi made clear, we aren't adverse to punching one out every once in a while.
Yeah, so that's right. But so when we see leaders like Nancy Pelosi or Angela Merkel, or that woman in New Zealand, Jacinda, whatever her name is, we say, look, there is, see, a woman. And yet, when women like this horror in Italy, Melania or whatever her name is, Maloney, and women like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert, we then somehow we discount them. The reality is when we make these silly statements about whole generations having
or whole genders,
or whole genders, or this, it's just nonsense. But we do this because this is how humans are. We belong to these groups. And that's a good intro to Clarence, because he's against belonging to groups, I think. Hello?
Yes, I am, for goodness sake.
That's the point. It's for goodness sake.
Yeah, exactly. Do things for the goodness sake. But I had to write a note so I wouldn't get off track of what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
When you brought up the young men, 25% of them saying that they're liberal. what I have found is probably more, and same with the females who said that, what was it, 44% said they were liberal. It's that term liberal. they're liberal. They just don't know it. If they would ask them, do you support this? Do you support that? Liberal causes. I think a lot more will define them, agree with like liberal causes than actually.
Well, that might, I was thinking you might be right about
Yeah, they didn't want to be libtards, for heaven's sakes.
Exactly.
Or the other thing is, liberal, if they were asked, are you liberal? I think my son would say no.
Yeah.
Because he finds liberals too wishy-washy. So he would argue he's something beyond liberal. I mean, it could be because he's even more progressive.
He's a radical for good. Yeah.
Yeah, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But it could be, you're right, that the definition of the term has been so...
It's branded.
It doesn't mean... Yeah.
Yeah, just like feminism. Somebody did a bit about this. I can't remember who it was, but he said, hey, I found out that I'm a feminist. He said, if it means, do you believe in equal rights with women, then I'm a feminist. I just found this out.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So people think, are you a feminist? No, I'm not a feminist. Do you believe in equal rights for women? Yes. Then you're a feminist. It's like, yeah. The word has been branded to mean something that it actually doesn't mean. And so people don't agree with it. So that's...
Yeah.
Feminists became feminazi, courtesy of Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out, because that made me think of this, that's probably the first time anyone said his name since he died. Boy, did that guy disappear.
Yeah. Well, who?
Not the damage.
But his damage remains. Where feminist means feminazi, courtesy of him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The new, Rush Limbaugh 2.0 is going to be out of a lot of money. Yeah. That's. Can you imagine if he didn't, lose that lawsuit?
Defamation. Yeah.
Yeah.
The defamation.
That I can't even remember his name. What's his name?
Isn't that wonderful that we're all thinking?
Let's just keep not remembering his name.
Yeah. And then what Rush Limbaugh 3.0 would have been like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's like, how do you top that guy? That
asshole's still out there raising money and assuring his listeners that he set up all these not-for-profits where they can't get to it.
Yeah, it's same thing with the Donald, still suckering people. And they're
it's the Trump organization too. He's if his business is going down, he just makes a
new one.
Yeah, and that's and earlier you were talking about the people who are on those sides. There's no changing their minds, and that's it. There's just no change. It's cult behavior. That's been said 1,000. Yeah. It's cult behavior. I was saying it about because I was just talking about in a group I belong to on Facebook. About how people are like, Trump is like a cult. I said the Republican Party became like a cult. I said, talk about how did they vote for Walker? I mean, who can look at this? I'm like, it doesn't matter what he's done. I said, all they care about is supporting a Republican.
It has every mark of a cult.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. Yeah. So there we are. Hey, Clarence.
Oh yeah, what?
Always good to hear from you. That's all I was going to say.
I have to say that. Too. It's always good to hear you on the computer or whatever the airwaves.
Whatever I got.
Through the wires.
Through I don't know.
Magic. As long as Elon Musk lets us keep using the airwaves, as it were.
Could you imagine what Elon Musk smells like?
Oh, by the way, Margaret has told us, and I thank you, Margaret, because it was continuing to bother me. Alex Jones.
Alex,
thank you.
Okay, all right. The Jones cult. It's happening again. Jonestown.
Yeah.
Jonestown.
All right. Let me hang up before I come up with more bad jokes. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, and speaking of polls and stuff, one more thing. This was the headline I think it was the New York Times today. And I wrote it down because this is it. This is, you might as well put this on the tombstone of American democracy. Here it is. Voters see democracy in peril, but saving it isn't a priority. That headline so depressed me because the polling shows Americans are very aware of the fact that our democracy is teetering. But then if you ask them, when you cast your vote, what is uppermost in your mind? That's nowhere near the top. Nowhere near it. I mean, to me, that's the only thing that should be.
To me, yeah. To me, it's democracy, then abortion.
Yeah, well, if that's gone, you just say goodbye to all of it. I mean, what are you thinking? How is that not? That's
the first thing.
One. And so if that's our electorate, if that's where they are, oh yeah, we know we could lose our democracy, but frankly, I'm worried about the price of gas.
Well, I really think it's that people can't imagine that they can break this. They still don't understand that this can be broken.
Oh, geez. All right, fine. Well, they're going to have us all in a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, well, there's that, and there's also the part where there's a large number of people who seem to be noisier than us, and even though they're in the minority, they are wagging the dog, and that's the white Christian minority that has decided that all the rest of us, plus all women, are against them, and they are to make the rules.
Well, I have to. There was an interview with George Conway.
Yeah.
Kellyanne's.
Kellyanne's still husband, improbably.
I don't think that marriage is going to last.
Well, I understand, but it shouldn't have lasted the last 5 years.
Okay, but he voted for Trump.
I know.
The last, he was a rock-ribbed. He ain't anymore. He's one of the Republicans who said, "Good God," and has apologized profusely and said he must have been insane. He said, "I actually thought the presidency would change him. I was insane." Yes, all that's true. At least he has. But he says, and he would have a pretty good understanding of who Donald Trump is.
Right.
And he says, in regard to all the legal troubles he has, he said, "I don't believe that Trump would ever plea bargain. Because that would be what? Admitting
guilt.
He can't do it. And he says, but in all likelihood, he will be convicted of multiple felonies. I don't know if there's ever going to be a perp walk, but there's a good chance he's going to end up with a few felony convictions. And he thinks he'll end up serving time in house arrest.
They'll sentence him to house arrest at Mar-a-Lago.
Something like that, which is not right.
No.
Anyway, he says, here's what's going to happen, though. Donald Trump will, when he's getting painted into a corner, will, and we've seen this already, will incite violence.
Yep.
On his behalf. He'll try to pretend, again, it's something spontaneous. But he's going to do the same thing again. And he says, what keeps me up at night is the violence that Trump will probably unleash. And that danger of violence will increase as the 2024 election approaches. And, we're not even thinking of, Conway thinks that if the legal stuff doesn't take him down, he will be the nominee.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I mean, it's hard. But I think he's right, and I don't think a lot of Americans are ready or the level of terroristic violence and attempts. Well, we were seeing it. Intimidation attempts, threats of violence being the biggest way of intimidating people. The fact that probably most Republican office holders are supporting Trump because they're scared. Now, I don't know what percentage are doing it because they literally fear for their lives, and what percentage are doing it just out of, this cynical political expediency to keep power. But I think we're heading into something pretty terrifying.
Your devices are making all sorts of noise today.
I know. I think that was telling me that we have a caller. Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very low.
Hey.
Can you speak up? Or
I'll try. I'm on a landline. I'm trying.
I don't know.
Can you hear me better?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Regarding these boys who are just shutting down, I agree with you. I mean, I see it in my neighborhood all the time, and and I don't like picking on women, but because the mothers seem to do the most of the parenting nowadays, they're really a problem. And because my poor boy just doesn't, it's just not fair. And dads are doing it too, but really, it because it is harder for boys, but it's not. It's still unequal. They're just want it the way I had. I'm 60 years old. I was privileged. But I can't have that conversation with my peers because they immediately go to, I worked hard. I said, yeah, you had the privilege of having the opportunity to work hard, and these people don't get it. It's just because it's more difficult. It might be a little bit more difficult for young men today. Doesn't mean they are victims. It's just a little bit more equal than it used to be. And the moms
They've
are
got
the
more
worst.
competition. They've got more.
They have real competition.
Do not have competition from black people, male or female, from women. And in the last 30, 40 years, and they're still on their heels because of it.
I have 5 older sisters who have sons. And they feel bad for their boys and their grandsons. And then at the same time, they'll say, and the education system is just awful. The teachers just aren't the same quality. Like, we had good teachers. I said, did you ever look at why we might have had good teachers back in the 60s and 70s?
The only jobs women could have.
I said, those women who are our teachers and our principals back then, today would not, a lot of them would not have been teachers or principals. They would have been CEOs, they would have been surgeons, they would have been high-powered lawyers, they would have been business owners. I said, so don't get on the good old days, because guess what? Your daughters and granddaughters now have opportunity, and you should be happy for that. And your sons and grandsons just got to put in a little bit more effort than maybe I did. And it's just quit whining about it. And it's just, I think
it's also known, Roger, can I just add this? I think that mothers, and generally, we're all always generalizing in these. Mothers, at least used to, raise sons differently than they raise daughters. I think it's pretty well known that daughters had always more responsibilities in the home than sons did.
Absolutely, I agree.
And what girls learned from this harder work, because they were not treated quite as the boys were special. And because they were special, not as much was asked of them. So in that respect, they haven't got they haven't had the difficulties that a lot of daughters have. And I know that's not across the board, but I think it's
pretty accurate,
well.
and it teaches women something else, young girls something else, and that's not to get their feelings hurt about every little thing.
Yeah, they're tougher. They're used to seeing equity and not getting all pouty about it like boys are. And and I'm guilty of that because like I said, I had 5 older sisters. When I came around, I walked on water. I didn't have to talk till I was 4 years old because I had everybody just catering to me, and that was not helpful. But just on a sidebar, my daughter and her wife are having their first child in December, and they won't tell us the gender of the baby. And I hope they have a boy, not because I want a boy, I want to have a grandson. It's just that we need sons raised correctly, and I really do think they will be good parents to a boy because you get another. I'm tired just for all the reasons you and I explained, and mind you, I will love a granddaughter to death. I mean, I don't care. I'll take her to the football games and all that stuff.
Yes, you will.
But just like I did my daughter,
right?
But they will be good parents for a son because they're not going to put up with this nonsense. I don't think they're in fact, that being a lesbian relationship and having friends of all different likes and whatever, it will be good exposure, and we need more young men to grow up in that environment.
Yeah, well, and I don't think it's as rare. Let me just say, on behalf of young men or youngish men everywhere, I have a son and a son-in-law who each truly shoulder half of everything, at least half of everything in their households, and are wonderful parents to one to a son, to their daughters. I think it's changed a lot, and I want to acknowledge that it's changed a lot.
Obviously not enough. Yeah.
No, it's changed so much that what we're witnessing is backlash.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm painting with a broad brush.
Right.
We
no
all
pun
are.
intended.
We all.
But we got to pay attention to that, and you got to look at the boys still living in their basement when they're 30 years old. Got to look at that and say why. And so anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Roger.
Okay. Well, have a good day, both of you.
Always happy to talk to evolved men.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And we do have another caller. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Lynn?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if I still had I got cut off. I'm sorry.
No, you're here.
I was going to say I agree with all that, what you said. Anything, when I was growing up, we did everything. I grew up on a farm. My dad did contracting on the side. My uncle did. So we knew about hard work.
Right.
Yeah. I worked with my hands all my life in building trades and the mills and stuff. We did laundry, helped with all that stuff. So on a farm, it was different. I don't know how these kids think and that, but it was a different scene for me. It was both the girls do the guys stuff. They hit through bales of hay. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. I was isolated. I guess I lived in the country.
You lived in a place that had so much work to do that it was all hands on deck to get everything done. Yeah.
Yep.
It was a family enterprise. Yeah. Which is a wonderful.
Yeah. Oh no. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. Well,
okay.
It sounds wonderful. Hard, but wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I don't want to let the hour go without getting to this story that just enraged me, and that is, enraged as opposed to surprised me of finding out how much the grifter in chief made.
Oh, charged
off
us
of
from
taxpayer dollars, charging the Secret Service. First of all, they put the Secret Service in a position of having to stay in Trump-owned properties. And then they jacked up the rates as high
and lied about it. They told us when questioned that they were giving us a deal, if you recall.
Right. Eric Trump was heard to say that we're charging the government only like $50 a room. Like $50? How about multiply that by
200
or 20? Or in fact, the hotel charged the Secret Service $1,160 for one night for one room at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. once. It never charged less than $600 per night. And they, just looking at what the taxpayers put in Trump's pocket from the Secret Service staying in his hotels, it adds up to about $1.5 million.
Right. And understand there's an actual per diem where the government allows a certain amount and expects a certain amount. And that's because everybody isn't, the whole detail doesn't have to stay at that hotel. They can stay someplace else, and the people that are on duty go to work.
Well, the Secret Service was essentially held captive.
Well, don't you remember that he was flying like whole army base, travel through to Scotland so they could stay at his golf course?
That is correct. But you know what? What I was going to say is that this number, $1.5 million, only is the total for domestic properties, from properties. This does not include all the payments he raked in his foreign properties, where agents accompanied him. And understand, it's not just him. It's if Don Jr. wants to go off on a hunting expedition and kill glorious animals in Africa. This is to tend to his children who were flying all over the world all the time. So it's going to be millions upon millions upon millions in just one of the grifts. I mean, for him, this presidency has been the greatest grift.
Yeah, well, that's right.
And it's why he can't give it up.
He was making hay while the sun shone, and he can't give it up. I mean, there's a couple things with giving it up. One, then it's easier to put him in jail, and two, it slows his money-making efforts.
Oh man! Well, something I read that gave me some measure of hope is that this case in New York by the New York Attorney General. Who knows which case? These cases are getting.
They're everywhere.
Even the defamation case from the woman who he raped.
That's going forward now, right?
At Bergdorf's or something. That's not. He supposedly is supposed to testify under oath or be
found in contempt.
Yeah, but he still can do one. I think that he has one more opportunity to appeal, which he never passes up. He'll continue to appeal because in a case like that, he's got to answer. He'll be under oath.
You're saying that like that means absolutely anything to him. Honest to Pete, under oath
so what's
to
he
Donald
do?
Trump.
Does he take the fifth? Does he? Well, all right.
Or he just flat out lies. Why would you think that he suddenly stops lying, whether he's under oath or not?
Because of the consequence.
Yep. Oh, because he always suffers consequences. Why are you talking about this man like any of that matters to him?
Well, until
the consequence slams him right upside his head, he's going to keep playing the game the way it's worked for him his whole life.
Yeah. Well, it's the only way he knows how to play.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, if, all of his wealth is pretty much wrapped up, whatever he's got, and he doesn't have much. He doesn't have much. It is wrapped up in his real estate holdings.
Which, to say the least, are heavily leveraged.
Exactly.
And they live off the leverage.
Borrowed off of it. So he's the king of debt. He doesn't have access to cash to pay the kinds of penalties and fines that might be coming his way in the civil cases. And the reality is he could end up having to dump a lot of his prize real estate properties in New York to get cash to pay for the civil case penalties.
Yep. Oh, dear.
And also to do it at fire sale prices at a loss. Because people will know the position he's in. He won't have any leverage. And since, as Susan said, these properties are all so heavily mortgaged that he doesn't necessarily have a lot of capital in them, does he?
No. And then let's look at it from another point of view. At what point do we get a court order to disinter Ivanka to see if there's state documents buried in her?
That would be, I can't imagine.
They're saying that they are not sure that he didn't transport stuff there.
Well, they know that they don't have all the documents. The archives have said we got missing documents here. And we do know that boxes were seen going up to Bedminster in New Jersey. And where he planted, his first wife. So her body's there. You really think, well, how would they ever, why would you, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, well, but they might, okay, if not literally with her, that's a great big place where you can dig a hole and know where you dug it and plant them and cover it up.
Yeah.
Golf courses are always resodding and regrassing. That wouldn't raise any. My guess is they're buried someplace on that golf course.
What an incredible crook.
The thing is that with these kind of people, you can actually make up these kind of stories, and they're perfectly logical.
Plausible. Yeah, they're perfectly plausible. We long ago, when he came on the scene, got to the point where you can't, the phrase "you can't make this up" was used so often that it has no meaning anymore. That how many times have people said, if you wrote this as a movie, they would say, "Oh, come on."
Right. Well, there's no need to make it up. Yeah. It's just what is. But my comment goes more to the fact that we shouldn't stop knowing what we know. And so to think the absolute worst of him is probably appropriate. And therefore, open the coffin. Or at least dig up the hole.
Speaking of coffins, Margaret says, my prediction is he'll be dead by the end of the year.
That would be nice.
That's always a possibility. You can't, he looks like a very unwell man, and he's got to be under incredible stress. Can you imagine? What does he do with his day?
I don't know. He sits around being a lout. I mean, nobody's
got to be meeting with lawyers all the time who he's not going to pay. it's got to be going from one lawsuit to the next, from whether he's guilty of sedition, whether he's guilty of
rape,
whether defamation, fraud. There are so
tax evasion.
Yeah, I mean,
what a prince of a guy.
Incredible.
And there you have him, folks, your probable Republican nominee.
Mm-hmm. There he is. Astonishing. Again, that this election we're heading into is going to be so close when when one of the parties has become a neo-fascist cult. Says all you need to know about the health and values and morality of this country.
Yep.
It's already, we already look like we're clearly a crippled and dying nation, and it's an ugly sight.
Well, I think we got stage 3 cancer. There's a chance we'll survive. But that's what this feels like.
Well, I think the next 2 years and heading into that 20, that's all we got. If we're going to pull this out, it's all we've got. And I don't know, and I keep saying that any of us have the capacity to really understand the nightmare we might be getting.
No, this is very frightening. Our mother just walked in the room, and I was watching her watch television yesterday, and they were talking about the anti-Semitism everywhere.
Yeah.
And Trump spouting it everywhere. And I mean, she was just sitting here going, this is just, she was horribly frightened, horribly upset, and thinking, I can't believe that we're living through this again. This is another one of her, I don't want to be around for this moments.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know. If people are not awake to the threat at this point, I don't know what it takes. It's just, it's astonishing. I was looking at the obits today because that's what I do. And
speaking of death,
I've been seeing this more and more. There'll be a name, and then there'll be the same name right under it. And I'll think, oh, wow, are they related? And yeah, they are. Separate obits, one under the other. And today there was one. And, I checked the names real quickly, and the woman was married to a guy. And sure enough, it's the name of the guy whose obit is under hers. And he died, and then she died 2 days later.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that over and over. Again, people know every time I see it, I talk about it. But this couple had, my God, they were inseparable in every way, and that they had a business together. So they worked together. They were never not together.
How old were they?
And he was 84, and she was 81. And he predeceased her by 2 days. But the minute he was gone, she's essentially gone too. And they were married for 56 years.
Well, how nice for them. I mean, they couldn't imagine life without each other, and they didn't have to find out.
No. So, no. Okay, there's that. I have 2 more little things that are not like horrible. Okay?
Okay, I like not like horrible.
Okay. Well, some of you might already know this, and I vaguely recall this story because it's so wonderful. But the reason I'm bringing it up again is that the dog in question.
Oh, the dog died. Yeah.
But what a story. What a wonderful, wonderful story. This is about a big black lab. He's a mix, a lab and something else. Lab and bull mastiff. Big, black, beautiful dog. And he was famous for riding the public bus in Seattle by himself to get to the dog park. Now, it started because he was waiting at the bus stop with his owner one day to do that, and the bus came, and unbeknownst, I don't know what the owner was doing, but he wasn't paying. He was having a cigarette, I think, and didn't get on the bus, but the dog did. And the dog got off at the right stop, and then went to the dog park. The owner freaked out when he thought, "What the dog? Where is Eclipse?" That was it. Where? And he went to the dog park hoping that the dog was and sure, the dog was at the dog park. So then it became a thing where sometimes the dog would just do it by himself. And he would sit on seats and put his head on someone's lap.
He'd fall asleep.
Or he'd look out the window. When it got to his stop, he always, ran to the door and he'd paw at it. Now, this brings up a lot of questions for me because I don't believe this is. I'm surprised that public transportation allows dogs. I mean, I can see a guide dog or a working dog that's helping somebody, but he wasn't that. So as far as I know, in Pittsburgh, I've never seen just a regular. You haven't spent any time in Seattle, have you? No. So Seattle's the kind of place that you would take your dog on the bus to go to that. Wow. Well, that is so cool, and what a wonderful animal. Well, and the dog became the toast of the town, and everybody loved him, and the television did stories on him. He got national. Sure. And that dog died young. He was only 10. Yeah, he got cancer. Aww. But he died in his sleep, and, whatever. The poor owner. They were together every day, and he had this dog since he was a tiny puppy, and he said there were only 3 nights that he did not spend with this dog. So that's got to be really tough on the owner. But the owner he wrote a children's book called Dog on Board. Right. And he had his own Facebook page. Yeah, and all of that. And a lot of people, he had a lot of followers, of course. But I didn't know him, but man, is that a great animal. I know. Rest in peace, Eclipse. Wow. Just wow. What a nice life for a dog to know that every human was his friend, such that he could fall asleep on any stray human he should find himself next to. Isn't that something? Yeah, a great life. So the only other thing I have is an aphorism, which made me laugh. Well, it's true, and I think it's funny, so I'll share it with you. It's a guy named Franklin Jones said it. I don't know who Franklin Jones is, but here's what he said. I'm sure he said a lot of things, but this is the one that I've seen. The trouble with being punctual is that nobody is ever there to appreciate it. And I relate to that because I am punctual. And I am too. somebody says, I'll see you I'll be there. When do you, at 10? I'm 10. That's what I do.
Eric and I used to have to drive around the block because we were always 5 minutes early to any place.
Early.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. The trouble with being punctual is that nobody's ever there to appreciate.
Right, and your hosts are just frankly miffed that you've shown up on time, not dressed.
I know. You end up apologizing. So if you're on time, you end up apologizing to your host. I'm so sorry.
Are we the first?
Yes. God. It's true. So, all righty, Suze, safe travels. I know you're traveling.
Yeah, I am. I'm going to run upstairs and pack.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, talk soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye. And you guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Just another reminder that there is no show on Thursday or Monday. Got a long weekend. But looking forward to talking to you again tomorrow. And I swear, not that I hope any wondrous dogs die so we can talk about them. I swear I will look for things that don't scare the bejeebers out of you. I mean, I'll find anything, though. You have a good day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.